Okay, welcome to an exercise review. We're looking at lesson 2, a couple weeks maybe. Uh, you might have just finished it yesterday, who knows? But arguments and exercise help from exercise 1.2, point 3, point 4, and point 5. Okay, the first exercise has to do with statements. You're just supposed to do numbers 5 through 10. And the first question is, should your religious beliefs be guided by reason, emotion, or faith? Well, that's not a statement. That's a question. Okay, your statements may or may not be true. You might have one statement that says one thing and another statement that says just the very opposite next. They're both statements. For instance, the sky is black. The sky is blue. Whether they're true or not, you can say the sky is purple. That they are statements. They are making a claim. Questions, commands, requests, greetings, and exclamations are not assertions, and they're not making a case that something is or is not. Therefore, none of these are statements. When there's a question like, are you doing your best for God and country? That's not a statement. That's a question. So it's a matter of understanding English a little bit. But here we're in critical thinking, and I'm trying to make you think a little bit more clearly. So that's what it's really all about. Some statements may be conclusions, some of them may be premises, and one conclusion in a set of in an argument might be totally different or the opposite of a conclusion in another argument. So just beware. Okay, what is an argument? I want to point out that the argument is not a heated debate. Okay, that's not what we're talking about here. It's not being argumentative. Whether something's argumentative, everything can be argumentative. Everything can be argumentative. We're in logic, and we're not trying to boil the blood, even though your blood might get boiling hot over certain topics. I don't know. I can't see you. I don't know what you look like, and I probably don't know you. But argument is a statement that has making a case for something. Say the sky is black, and the argument may be, the premises may be, hey, it's midnight in Kansas. At midnight in Kansas, the sky is never blue. So therefore, the sky is black at midnight. Okay, that's an argument. I would like to point out that on page 16, where these exercises are from, that in this particular one about arguments, it's 1.3, that when there's an asterisk, this little buddy right there, that's called an asterisk, on numbers 4, 7, 11, and 15, it gives you the answer in the book every time you run across one of those. So go in the back of the book and take a look. Page 326, it'll give you answers starting there for the different lessons. Now, not all of them will have them, but this will help you. And on the numbers that I don't assign, I would suggest thinking about it and going back in the back and seeing if what you're thinking is correct. This will help you in future assignments as well. Argument and logic is not necessarily a hot political topic either. It's certainly not a heightened emotional state, and we're not looking for any kind of hot topics, whether it be cultural, political, governmental, religious, or whatever. It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with a hot topic. An argument is a group of statements where some of these statements are premises, some of them are conclusion, and some of these are supporting another one of these. Hence the conclusion. The premises support that. Okay? Reasons found in statements that you believe, accept, or are presenting a case for something not to be or not to be. You're like an attorney, okay? You're setting forth a case, and you're trying to do it logically. We're learning about this, and critical thinking will help you in this as we go forward. This is just the very beginning, the very basic founding and building blocks of logical argumentation. Okay, that's what we're doing. In this exercise, I would like to point out numbers 8 through 16. You were to find out if they're an argument or not, and then evaluate them. That's what we do in critical thinking, is evaluating. You need to think about it. Okay, is this true? Is it not? Does it make sense? And then give the conclusion of the argument. And what we're looking at, we're not looking at the topic per se. We're looking at just the words written here. Okay, so it gives an example for the first. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Number 1.3 does not give an example, but we started with number 8, so you could go to number 7 and 4 and look in the back of the book, see what's going on. Jesus loves me isn't necessarily a statement for the Bible tells me so. You might think it's making an argument, but this is not really a clear statement in logical telling. This is not a good argument. This is not making statements or arguments. It's quoting maybe something from a song or something. Okay, and you might believe it, but that doesn't make it an argument. But here is an argument, and it has premises. Number 9, that Spider-Man is better than Superman. Why? Well, it gives 2 reasons, 2 premises, because kryptonite can't hurt Spider-Man, and he doesn't get messed up with Lois Lane and the things that he's doing. Now, you might make the case and argue that with other things, but that's not, you can't do that because it doesn't say it in number 9. All you can do is use what's right there before you in that. You can't use outside information for an argument. I realize you can as an attorney. That's the point. They're supposed to garner information from all sorts of stuff. In this class, you can only garner information that's put right before your face. Okay, and especially in this exercise. So number 10, he is making an argument for knowing some, if not all, of the information. Because if you don't have information, you can't make an argument. That's his argument. Okay. Number 11, the conclusion is don't outlaw guns. That's the conclusion. Number 12, the argument conclusion is I have the right to shut down offensive speech. Okay, and it's just the opposite of that is number 14. I should not try to shut down offensive speech because, hey, we have freedom of speech here in America. Okay, that's where they can be opposite, but they're still making an argument, and it doesn't mean that you have to like them or agree with them or they're even correct. It's just that in this particular sentence or 2 or paragraph, whatever we're looking at, are they arguments? And that's what this was trying to do. Okay. So the next one here is exercise 1.4, and they were worth 3 points each because there were 3 points to them. Number 1, you might look at. Let's see. I keep looking at the wrong thing. Indicate whether they constitute an argument or not, and then you need to specify the conclusions and the premises. Okay. So the number 1 is faster than light travel is not possible. It would violate the law, a law of nature. That's an argument, and it's saying to go faster than light is not possible. That's the conclusion, the premise. It would violate the laws of nature. That's one of the premises. It's the only premise we find here. Okay, number two, and that's one of them you could have looked up in the back of the book. Okay, number two, it's an argument. Conclusion is you're not fit to serve in this capacity, in your current capacity. I would like to point out conclusions aren't always at the end. Sometimes people start with conclusions and then give premises. So don't look for something just at the end and make that the conclusion. That's not necessarily true. It's not going to happen all the time. Okay, but in this particular one, it gives two reasons why you're not fit. One is that you have neglected your duty on several occasions, and number two, you've been absent from work too many times. So therefore, you're not fit to serve in your current capacity. Doesn't mean they need fired, doesn't mean they need shot or put on the firing squad. It just means that they're not fit to serve where they are. Maybe they've been elevated too high and they need to be drawn back or something. We don't know. All we're doing is guessing at this point, speculating. But for this, what we can only do is see what they've set forth. So in number three, I'm going to read it. Racial profiling is not an issue for white people, but it is an issue for an African Americans. It's not setting forth an argument. It's making a statement, but it's not making an argument here for us to work with. And while we say, yes, okay, that's very true. It's possibly true. I've been profiled as a white guy, but that's because I lived among Indians, and they didn't know I was part Indian. But at any rate, that particular statement isn't, there's no argument there, there's no premises or anything. So we have to go on. The number four conclusion is the very beginning. The flu epidemic on the East Coast is real. Government and health officials say so, and I personally have read at least a dozen news stories that characterize the situation as a flu epidemic. Now, this book was long before COVID, by the way. And it just happens to be here. The conclusion is the flu epidemic on the East Coast is real. And the premises are two. One, government health officials say so, and the second one is that I personally read at least a dozen news stories about this. So, and number five is not an argument. You might think it is because it says communism is something, but bunk isn't really clear. It doesn't set forth an argument in this case. Okay? It does set forth an opinion, and I think it would make a big difference if what communism is would be a little bit different rather than bunk. Bunk bed. It's not a clear word. It's evaluative zero. Okay, going on. Last thing is making up premises. Here you could come up with all sorts of fun things to say or do. Conclusion is given, and you're supposed to present your made up possible premises. And I called out a few premises that wouldn't fit here and there, but for the most part, you did a good job in finding premises and creating them. But here, let's start with the example. Conclusion is pet psychics can diagnose a dog's heartburn 10% of the time. Okay. Then they come up with possible solutions. Let's go to number one. Do the same thing. What this country needs is more family values. That's what this country needs. So maybe it's because statistics of children killing their parents have been on the rise, or kids across the nation are dissing their parents on all levels. So that would be two premises. Maybe you say divorce and single parent homes, parents on drugs. These are different ideas that would give a premise to why we need to teach more family values at home. Okay. Schools say parents aren't interested in their children's education. So we need to, who knows? This wasn't part of your assignment. I'm just making up things to let you understand how this would have worked. Most of you did a pretty good job. So, but at any rate, I wanted to make sure these are clear. I've got a couple more as we finish out these exercise assignments just to help you along. Be sure to be a good critical thinker. You have to read the directions. So read them clearly, read them again, make sure you know what you're doing, and I would edit your work. If you really want to be a good, clear thinker, you write stuff down and then you reread it after you've written it before you send it or before you submit it into Red Zone. I would save it somewhere too, so that'll help make you a better thinker and clearer communicator when you do these things. So hope that helps, and we'll see you next time.